You're tuned into the It's Real podcast with your hosts, Kayla Calendar and Andrew Yagi. Each week, we'll talk about what happens behind the scenes working full-time in real estate and share with you real-life stories, our successes and failures as we work to help consumers and industry professionals reach their real estate and real-life goals. Here we go. Episode 20 of the It's Real podcast. I'm Andrew Yagi and I'm a real estate agent.
Hi, I'm Kayla Calendar and I'm a mortgage loan officer.
And Kayla, we have a very special guest with us today. Paige, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Paige Danner here. I've been a licensed real estate agent for about 9 years now. But just within the last 3 years, got into flipping houses with Bold Property Group.
And that's what we're
sorry.
Awesome. Welcome, Paige. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're really excited because Kayla and Paige, I get a lot of people asking me all the time, especially as, the stock market's maybe been a little bit, less certain, or the economy in general. Hey, a lot of people come in, hey, I want to be an investor. I want to have rental properties. I want to do a flip. Everybody loves to watch HGTV, right? And hey, how can I dive into this? So we're really excited to kind of tackle that. And maybe just as a setup, Kayla and Paige, you guys had known each other for quite a while because you used to work in the Fargo market, correct, Paige?
Yep, that's correct.
Way back when was the last time you were in Fargo, Paige, or that you worked in Fargo?
It's been about 7 years ago. So I moved out here in 2016, moved to Bismarck. So
nice.
Yeah.
Which do you like better, Bismarck or Fargo?
You don't put her on the spot like that, Kayla.
What did she ask?
I said, what do you like better, Bismarck or Fargo? They both have their pros.
Lots of pros and cons to both.
I love it. Well, we're glad that you're here.
So we've been trying to connect for a little while, and I have to apologize because obviously my schedule's maybe been a little bit crazier. But Kayla, already episode 20 of our podcast, and it's been almost as many days, actually 22 days since we had our last episode. So we've been a little inconsistent, but hopefully as summer kind of winds down, we'll have a little bit more time, to be consistent, because I know people have been missing us. At least that's what my mom tells me.
Oh.
But, before we maybe break into this a little bit, Kayla, what are you seeing out there? Because a lot of people, again, are asking, what's the market doing? Where are we going? What are rates doing? And is there any relief in sight?
Right now, if you're on mortgagenewsdaily.com, and you guys know that I love this site. And Andy, if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see the 729 for a 30-year fix. But do you guys see what's happened here? If you scroll down, you see that nice little chart there. In the last week or so, we saw rates really climb for a bit. They were at, 25-year highs, you guys? They were climbing. So they've leveled off a little bit in the last, basically 48 hours. They've come down just a smidge, but we're seeing a lot of pressure. We're seeing, we might see one more rate hike this year. That could mean higher interest rates. It really could. So for mortgages. So right now you'll see it right here. This is, again, national averages, right? Your bank might be under 7. I always state, if you're shopping, looking at rates, make sure you're looking at what the fees are, because you might see 7.29, but someone's at 6.5 charging you $13,000. So, take that with a grain of salt, but you can kind of see estimates here. And, we're seeing inventory a little bit better in my area. I'm hoping that we continue to see some, pop up, but until then, I think we're going to see it get worse before it gets better in 2024.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the total opposite of what the Mortgage Bankers Association was predicting, and even like a month or so ago, we were looking at better numbers. But again, we are where we are, and I would agree. Maybe a little bit more inventory. Although Kayla and Paige, I feel like we're seeing a little bit of early seasonality. Things maybe slow a little bit. I mean, I'm still seeing some multiple offers, but it's a little bit more rare now.
Mm-hmm.
What about in the Bismarck market, Paige?
Yeah, so a different market than what we saw 3-4 months ago, just due to these last rate hikes. And of course, with kids starting school, this just just this last month, things have slowed down with that too. But with that being said, in the last week or two, things have started a little bit picking up a little bit more. Inventory here is still in a seller's market, which is great. I think buyers are starting to realize that rates are not going to go down anytime soon, even though they still want to buy a house. It's not stopping them from buying a house. The market that I'm seeing some leg in is the second time, third time, fourth time home buyer markets, because they don't want to sell their house with their low interest rate that they have when the market has increased, but yet the interest rates have increased with that, where they're going to be getting the same house for the same cost or
Sure.
for a higher cost. So they're looking at that and they're like, it's probably not going to be the time to move. So we're seeing a little bit lag in that market, but the first time home buyer market, I see that still, pretty crazy. So, so I think there's just a little bit of realization and movement, and but overall, I think people are starting to get used to the fact and not being so shocked about, the interest rates going up so high. So.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how we finish out the year and what 2024 has in store. But, we could sit here and talk about rates and market all day, but really, Paige, we want you to kind of educate us a little bit and actually our listeners, because again, and Kayla, I don't know if you get many people asking you, but I get a tremendous number of questions about rentals, fixes, and flips. And so it was really fun. I did not work in Fargo, but about 2 months ago, Paige, where I've worked with your mom, with Lisa, on a number of properties or transactions over in the Breckenridge Wahpeton area. And she was asking me something one day and texted me and said, "Hey, Andrew, I've got a question." I said, "Hey, by the way," I said, "your daughter, works out in Bismarck and with a good friend of mine as well, Derek Brandenburg." And I said, it'd be really fun to connect with her. And, just as I'm kind of the new kid on the block in real estate, kind of learn about some of this. And as I was doing some contract pilot work out towards Bismarck one day, we were able to connect with lunch, which was really, really awesome. To get to meet you and learn a little bit more about your business. So, Paige, tell us a little bit about, first of all, fixes and flips. You started as, a real estate agent, kind of like I did, and, working in the general market with buyers and sellers. And so tell us about your evolution into the fix and flip market.
Yeah, so like I had mentioned, I started as a real estate agent just over 9 years ago now. It's hard to believe that it's been that long ago.
Wow.
But was a real estate agent, started building a team, was in the Fargo market for 2 years, moved out to Bismarck for love, unfortunately. So was in the Bismarck market until now. So started building Brandenburg crew here in the Bismarck market, and really grew that and managed agents, plus sold 40, 50, 60 homes a year. And quite frankly, just got a little bit burnt out from doing that. It's a constant drive and a constant working evenings, weekends. Yeah. And here I wanted to start a family, and that just didn't coincide with what I was doing for work. So I know I needed to change, and I know I was wearing so many hats at that point. And Derek Brandenburg, my partner, proposed flipping houses in our market, and he started Solution Investments in Fargo about a year before I started here in Bismarck. So we've been in Bismarck for about 3 years now. So he's been in Fargo for about 4 years doing the same thing. So took his word of advice and started going full force in this. And I had a little bit of background in flips and doing my personal properties here and there, and saw a huge opportunity here in this market for that as well, because there's not too many people that focus in this out there. So started this 3 years ago, and like real estate, it just takes time to get going. A person expects to make, a lot of money doing flips right away. But here I'm sitting 3 years from now, and keep putting money into the business, putting money into the business. And now we're at that point where like, okay, we might be able to start seeing something come through. So there's just a lot of money and a lot of equity that we have in these projects to start off. And when you want to do a few at a time, it just keeps, adding up those numbers. So now we're up to holding about 12 flips, which is pretty incredible. And we do around 3 to 4 flips a month, whether that's actual flips or wholesales. And so with wholesales, it's a unique thing that I learned with being in this business too. Wholesales are more driven by investors. And so I have a group of investors that take on wholesales from me where I purchase these properties at such a discount where I can resell them to a potential investor and they can still get a deal out of it. So that's been a huge opportunity in this market as well. And they're finding that same opportunity in Fargo and Wapaton too. So it's a pretty incredible market. And so that's why I suggest, if you're looking at getting into these flips, these other investors are going to be your greatest contact because they know of some of these. And
So Paige, so you have, Bold Property Group, and so you guys, obviously, you have a big focus, a big emphasis on fix and flips. You're obviously doing quite a bit of marketing, but, let's say I'm your average person like me, like Andrew Yagi sitting here, and hey, I want to get in, I want to flip a property. I've seen HGTV. I think I can do a pretty good job. How do I even get started?
So, a mentor is the biggest thing. Talk to somebody that knows and has done it before, because there is a few hurdles to go through. I mean, as far as financing goes, as far as not making sure you're not over flipping a property, that's a huge thing that I run into a lot where people treat these homes like it's their house that they're going to be living in. Whereas you're not going to want to put granite countertops in a $200,000 house. It's just not going to make sense for the end bottom dollar. So just getting past that point and just having that mentor walk you through what to do, what not to do, what profit margins to look at, even what banks to talk to as far as this financing goes, because there's many banks that are now more familiar with what we do, that are familiar with the flipping industry, that you're able to lend out with non-traditional financing up to 80%. So you're really only having to provide that 20% down payment when it comes to these, which is really nice. And then, insurance is a thing. So there's lots of steps that are a little bit different in this market than the traditional owner-occupied home market.
Kayla, not to interrupt you, Paige, but Kayla, on the lending side, do you guys offer products for people who are looking, to do flips or investment properties, or how do you guys generally approach that? And are there any great programs, that you would have that would be attractive?
So here's the thing. I'm a residential lender. A lot of these people that are purchasing these properties are doing it under an LLC or under their business. So truthfully, a lot of loan officers like me, we're not seeing a ton of it. I have a couple right now that, yes, they're buying their first investment home. They're putting about 25% down because the rate is so much better if you do. But it's far and few between compared to those ones that are doing multiple a year. They're doing it under their business. They generate a business name, they have a tax ID number, and it's done through the business. So in this case, I don't see a ton of it because I'm residential. And a lot of these people are creating wealth and establishing these businesses and doing it under them that way. So Paige, are you seeing most people that are doing these flips are doing it under a business, or are they doing it under their personal name?
Under a business. About 99% of that. Yep. Just because it's such a unique. Yeah.
You mentioned just a little bit ago about over flipping. Have you ever over flipped a property? And do you have any? I think you have some good stories Maybe give us a quick story or two.
Yes, the answer is yes. I have, and I've learned lots of lessons from that. And what we've developed and what we've kind of focused on is particular properties that we are willing to flip. I guess everybody has a different way of going about this and the types of properties that they do want to flip. But really what we strive on is, the 1960s and up type flips. We've had some flips where it's just paint and carpet. We literally have bought some properties at a discount that just need some cleaning. But the ones that we put a lot of money into are the older homes. Victorian style homes. They're so cool and you can make them look beautiful. But those are the ones that are going to cost a really pretty penny to get flipped. And those are a lot of the times some flippers strive for, because you can get those for really cheap generally. But what's behind the walls sometimes is not really worth how cheap those properties you can buy for, because there's electrical and plumbing and yeah.
So with that, Paige, how do you stay disciplined in your approach? Because I mean, we look at most everything in life, lack of discipline is what leads to not great results, or, not reaching our goals. So how have you learned, just because obviously, and I'm sure, we could talk for hours and you could tell stories about, successes and failures. How do you stay disciplined, and what's your biggest piece of advice, for those looking to flip and discipline?
Yeah, so we might have a little bit different business model than some first time flippers, because our business approach is we offer on every single property that we walk through, whether that will work for the seller or not. We always try to offer some sort of offer that, hey, maybe you'll consider this. I know it's low, but see what you can do. So we try to offer on every single property. So so we buy properties from dirt cheap, really gut jobs, to condos, to just a couple of years old type houses. So we've bought across the board. But
Can I ask, what is the least amount of money you've ever paid for a property, and what's the most amount of money you've ever paid for
Good
a flip?
question.
$5,000.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
That I'm guessing, was that kind of a rural property, probably off the beaten path a little ways?
It was a out of town property. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, and that is one we bought for 5,000 when we ended up selling without having to do much of anything to the place for close to 40. So
Wow.
that's what I mean about wholesaling. It's a powerful tool that you can that investors can be a part of, and just having those connections with other investors that might know of some of these deals. So yeah, it was one that I was kind of surprised on that I even got, but yeah.
What about on the upper end?
Shoot. Probably around 3 to 350.
Sure.
I want to say. Yeah, roughly around that.
How many are you purchasing per year on average? What does your year look like?
The goal this year was 40.
Okay.
So 40 homes,
Will you hit your goal or be close?
We will be very close. Very close. We have our profit numbers that we're looking to hit. We have our flip numbers. We're going to be hitting our profit numbers, which is great. And there's properties that we have lost on. You'll always run into some of those. But just as long as you have more that you make money on.
And I was going to ask on the losing out part too, Paige, because like a market like this, it's a little bit more challenging seemingly, to find those deals or those diamonds in the rough. Obviously, you guys with Bold Property Group, you're obviously doing some active marketing. You have people that are coming to you, so you have kind of that funnel, that method of lead generation. But are you finding, a market like this where inventory is historically low, that it is a little bit more challenging to go out and find those deals, or you're still having an easy time finding those motivated people?
Honestly, to my surprise, we're still finding those people, even with the seller's market, when they know that they can get probably more money on market. And fun fact about the properties that we buy too is all of these properties that we have bought have been off market. They
Wow.
they haven't
That's
been on
amazing.
MLS or anything. So it's people reaching out to us, and it was a like you're building a real estate business. It takes time to get there, and follow up is always key. So we have our system to follow up with these people because once they call us, there is a need somewhere. It might not be now, might not be in a year, but in a couple of years, they might be looking at something like this. So we have a whole pipeline of people that we follow up with that have called us and reached out to us. And now we're starting to see some active referrals too. That people that have worked with us that really enjoyed this easy process that we give them to purchase their house, and they refer them off to family, friends, and yeah, it's a great all around relationship. And then we're starting to really get a good name for ourselves here in the community too. So people are being driven by our website that we have, and mailers that we send out, and we have our ways of going about figuring out what real estate listings are out there too. But we've never purchased a property on the actual MLS. So that's why people are looking to sell still out there. And yeah, pretty incredible.
Is it just in Bismarck, Mandan that you guys are doing this? Is there like how far outside of that area do you go?
So we've gone to Dickinson, and we were pretty active in Dickinson until just a few months ago. Found out it's probably in the market we don't want to be in right now. So we've kind of tamed that back, and we know the Bismarck Mandan market like the back of our hands. So we really focus just on that market. We've bought in Minot, we've bought in Dickinson, like I said, New Salem, surrounding towns. But we focus primarily 95% of our business in Bismarck Mandan.
And I would say those are probably some of the biggest, or the biggest factor is the market. And, I look especially like where I'm doing business, or Paige, like where your mom's doing business, in the Breckenridge, Wahpeton area, there is less upside potential in our communities than there is in Bismarck, or even Kayla and in your marketplace in the Fargo area, because, again, homes only are going to sell for so much money, but still a lot of opportunities nonetheless. Paige, if you had maybe just a couple of pieces of advice to give, for those out there that, are maybe looking at getting into doing fix and flips or wholesale, what sort of advice would you give the average person who doesn't have, this established business, recognizing that you started somewhere too?
I think the biggest thing is talking to somebody that has done it before, having that mentor walk you through certain things. There's lots of people out there that are willing to help. It's just a matter of asking for it. It's pretty incredible that how many people don't, take that next step in actually talking to somebody about this and doing the things. Lending is going to be a big thing too. A person's not going to be able to go out there and offer all cash on a house and expect to, you do need some lending help on some of these, whether it's a line of credit, these guidance lines that we use as well. So having that relationship with a lender is going to be important too. And also, if you don't have your real estate license, find a real estate agent that to help you with some of these, because they know what they're doing. They know what to look for. They know the market, and they know their numbers as well. So that's my piece of advice as well. If you don't have your real estate license.
Sure. Well, it's been fantastic kind of hearing about, your journey and kind of what you guys are doing out in Bismarck. Paige, if someone wants to get in touch with you and has questions, maybe they're in the Bismarck Mandan market, or just questions about fix and flips, what's a good way to kind of connect with you guys and Bold Property Group?
Yeah, absolutely. So our email and phone number should be right on that page. So you can call me right at that 354-3530 number that will link directly to me. And then I got my direct cell phone number too, which is 701-640, Wapita number, 3471.
Love it.
And then, yeah, or you can email us at boldpropertiesnd@gmail.com.
Do you guys utilize any Instagram or social media handles for what you guys do?
I'm terrible with handles. So we actually, we have a marketing.
Here.
Okay. Yeah. So that's our page. We have
Bold
our
Bold property group, Kayla.
Thanks, Andy. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, Kayla, any final thoughts?
I just think a lot of people always have this idea of, I want to flip homes. It sounds so easy, but truthfully, I love your advice of have a mentor, because I think so many people just go online and search and they don't take the time to get to know people. So, I mean, maybe Paige, you can be a mentor to someone, because it sounds like you've had a successful, amazing years doing this. And I can see some people reaching out to try to get some advice from you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm excited to do so. It's something I'm very passionate about, so I can spend hours talking about it. So please reach out.
Well, I hope people reach out to you.
Thanks so much for joining us today, Paige. And it was really awesome, to talk a little bit further and learn more about your journey and about Bold Property Group. So Kayla, Paige, have a great week.
I will if you will.
Thank you.
See ya.